come on. Let's do it. There we go. Oh yeah, I got to make sure the equipment's working. You know, it used to be that YouTube had a thing where you could send the data to the stream without going live, but I guess they must have changed that. All right, how's everything look? Is everything, oh, awesome. Awesome. Cannot wait. How am I doing today? I am having a fantastic day so far, and I hope all of you are too. It's one of my first bye weeks in several weeks. Did not have any Magic tournaments of any kind that I was working on, and so that felt amazing. So yeah, it is right about 8 o'clock, and so let's get started. Thank you to everybody for showing up. This is a special presentation that I'm doing to celebrate 16,000 subs for Judging for the Win, which I think is just phenomenal. I say it all the time, and I really do mean it every time. I cannot believe that I got past the first 1,000. There is no universe that I foresaw where the channel would be even a fraction as popular as what it currently is. And so thank you so much to everybody who has supported the channel in any way. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, let's get started with some of the questions that some of the people have asked. And there was one that I thought was like kind of a one that I wanted to start with. If a Magic channel that's focused on gameplay rather than rulings invited me to do a video as a guest, would I be interested in participating? And that would be a hard yes. I'd be very excited if I got an opportunity to do something like that. You know, the person who asked this question mentioned some specific channels like Tolarian Community College or Card Market, and it's actually kind of interesting because actually at MagicCon Minneapolis this past weekend, I got a chance to talk with Toro from Card Market, which was a super cool experience. I'm a big fan of the explanations that he's provided in some of the videos that Card Market's put out. As a judge, I feel like they strike a really good balance between being technically correct and also being approachable to somebody who doesn't have like a you know, super duper high level of rules knowledge or you know, technical knowledge about how the game works. So yeah, I would definitely if anybody out there is from one of the channels and you're interested in doing a collab, yeah, absolutely send me an email. I'd be more than happy to do something like that. I've actually had a couple of people on the channel before, and there's a couple of other collabs that I have in the works that I won't talk about just quite yet. But I love getting to meet new people. I love getting to work with other content creators. So that kind of moves into one of the other questions that I got that I wanted to make sure I talked about. What's my favorite thing about Magic the Gathering? And it's not the gameplay, and that's kind of something I maybe touched on a couple of times before, like in the channel. Actually, I've played several different like cardboard strategy games throughout my life. And as far as the gameplay is concerned, I would actually say that like Magic is like among the lower end of different games that I've played. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, but the idea that like the best Magic player in the world couldn't even guarantee that they make day 2 of a Grand Prix, you know, I think that's kind of like, you know, not a good sign. Like if you put Faker in a lobby with a bunch of gold players, and you put them against a team that was like 5 gold players, right? Like there's no universe where Faker's team doesn't just like win; they just absolutely hard stomp, right? Like if you put like a pro Super Smash Bros. Player up against like some guy who's like a normal club player, right? Like the club player is not going to stand a single chance, not a snowball's chance in hell. StarCraft, same idea. You put like a pro player against like a random player. Like, so the gameplay for Magic is not really something that I find like particularly appealing. The play patterns in Magic is not something I find like particularly appealing. Another thing that like people ask me from time to time is like, if you were in charge of organized play, what would you do to like, improve the whatever metrics that they look at for organized play? And I think this kind of goes along with that too. So like, in my opinion, like Magic is like nothing special as far as like strategy games are concerned, or as far as card games are concerned. But what is special about Magic is the opportunity to like actually physically, personally interact with other human beings. And I think that Magic has a platform where you're able to do that in a way that not a lot of other games can boast. And I really think that is like the strongest aspect of Magic, and that's the part that I enjoy the most, and it's the part that I still enjoy the most, like as a judge and as a player also. And so that's what I would say about that is like my favorite part about the game is getting to interact with other people as part of playing the game. And I think that like Magic in general has like a really strong like it's extremely compelling how well Magic does something like that. And even in the judge program too, you have the same sort of thing. As a judge, I have interacted with several individuals on a professional level who I would have like probably never, A, gotten a chance to interact with before, but B, like never, had any interest whatsoever in interacting with. And getting to meet those people and see how, see what kind of awesome people are out there that I never would have had a chance of meeting otherwise. That's a really powerful thing. So yeah, that's what I'd say is like my favorite thing about Magic. One of the big questions, if I follow standard format, what do I think about the switch to the 3-year standard format? And so, it's actually kind of weird. As a like judge who does like dozens of these RCQs. So I travel to stores like all throughout the Midwest. I can't say for sure when the last time I saw someone playing standard was. And that's kind of it's kind of funny to say, but like yeah, like literally I do not remember the last time that I was judging a standard tournament. So like for those of you who don't know, I'm from the Midwest, like in Indiana is where I'm actually from. So we play a lot of Modern in Indiana. We play a lot of Pioneer in Indiana. Occasionally you'll see like some Limited. Most of the stores that I work with don't do Limited, but certainly some of the stores that my colleagues work with do. It is very rare to see a standard format anything at like any of the stores that I work with and at any of the stores that I'm like familiar with, like maybe not even just like working with them, but like knowing about. So, with that being said, I wouldn't say that I'm like an expert in the format by any means because I literally do not get exposed to it like barely at all. With that being said, I think that the 3-year life cycle is kind of, I think it'll help. But I don't think it's really gonna like be the magic bullet that fixes all the problems that standard has. So if I was gonna guess, like if Wizards called me up and they were like, Judge Dave, we think you're a really smart guy and we really think you're gonna be the one with the solution that's gonna fix everything. What do you think we should do to get our numbers for standard up? I have like a couple of ideas that I would recommend people would try. And this is gonna, maybe for some people it might be like, way out of left field, and for other people it might be like right on the money. But this is my personal opinion, so obviously, like I said, I don't really know too much about this, so take with a grain of salt. But what I've been playing Magic for like close to 20 years, right? Now I remember when Standard was like the format. Like if you like met a random Magic player and you knew like a piece of the only information you knew about this Magic player was that they played a format. I remember back when the smart money was on betting that this person played Standard. Like Standard was the most popular format. It had the most people in it, and had like the most events being run for it. So I remember back when Standard was a lot bigger than what it currently is now. This is also, by the way, before like EDH was an official format. So like yes, Standard was the biggest format. It wasn't like the biggest tournament format or the biggest like competitive format or whatever. It was the biggest format, full stop. So anyway, what would I do to like, maybe we don't want to like get it all the way back to that where like Standard is the top format that there is, but like maybe we want to like at least get the numbers up some. So what do I think we should do? What I think we should do is make it more relevant. And so what do I mean by that? Well, and I really do believe this, the pro play is vitally important to Wizards for promoting formats that are anything other than EDH, right? And maybe like to chase the planes. You've seen like in the past like couple of sets for significantly more support for plane chase as a format than I've ever seen before. So if you want to talk about like a tournament format like Standard or Modern or Pioneer, if you want to promote any tournament format, you need to have tournaments that are that format and you need to make them relevant. But the problem is that like for the average Magic player, I don't think that like pro play in general is super relevant. I think and again, this is my own personal opinion, but if I like look at Wizards of the Coast, like where they're allocating their resources. I don't know if, but like I would say that I don't want to put like a hard percentage on it, but I think that it wouldn't be really controversial to say that like if you were gonna like if this is how much resources Wizards is like putting out to like promoting Magic, like this is how many resources they're promoting to EDH and other casual formats, and like this is how much they're promoting competitive play. And there isn't anything like wrong with that or anything per se, but like if you're spending this much money promoting EDH and this much resources promoting Standard, what do you think is going to happen, right? Like obviously the Standard format is going to not really be in the same spot that it was back before. So Wizards, I know that there was this poll something that one of the Wizards employees put out a while back about like, what do you think the reason why Standard? I think it's pretty obvious that the reason is that you're not promoting Standard at all, and so therefore the Magic players are not going after Standard at all. And I think that that's like, pretty not controversial to say. So yeah, that if I was gonna fix Standard, number one, I would put like the problem is it's a zero-sum game, right? Like Wizards has this much money to promote Magic, so like if you want to increase what fraction Standard gets, then you're decreasing the amount that some other format gets, right? So that's the thing. You can't just like expect people are going to play Magic by themselves. You gotta like give them a reason to play Magic, especially the tournament formats, because if you're not putting out tournaments that people want to go to in formats that you're trying to promote, then you're not going to see people playing those formats because, why would they? So I guess that's kind of like a long-winded explanation. But yeah, that's what I think about like the state of Standard right now. Let's see. How much is Standard affected by the faster solving of the format or some similar idea via like massive amounts of playtesting on Arena? And so here's the thing. If you are a competitive player, I think that like you're gonna like having a solved format isn't as big of a deal as what people think. So like I actually think that it's the opposite, and this is me personally. I don't know like how I don't have any data of any kind for what like the average competitive player thinks, but like for me personally, as a, when I was playing and when I was playing competitively, I didn't want to have the format being like shaken up every couple of weeks. I wanted to play one deck and get really good at playing that one deck for a long time. And that's the reason, in my opinion, why the non-rotating formats, such as Modern and Pioneer, have, seen, well, it's not the reason, but it's certainly a big reason why they are so popular. Because people realize that spending, $1,000 one time is better than spending $200 every few months for a few years. And especially that's the case when you can get deals on the cards, or you have some friends who can lend you some of the more expensive ones, or, you don't have to worry about what condition they're in, because as long as it's sleeve playable, it still works. So you can get some deals that way. So yeah, that's my personal opinion. And again, I don't have any market research or whatever to back that up. But my opinion is that the idea of the format is stale and therefore people don't like it as much, or the numbers aren't as good, is kind of a myth that's perpetuated by people whose livelihood depends on people continuing to buy lots of cards. So you could maybe imagine that if you were somebody whose job it was to sell more cardboard, you would want people to think that the format is stale and we need to shake it up. But if you were somebody who's trying to play this game for money, then it might be a little bit more of a, you might be more inclined to think, well, I already have this deck, and it'd be pretty cool if, in order to play this tournament next month, I didn't have to sell all of these cards and buy a bunch more of them. So that's my personal opinion on that. I think that it would be really, I think the faster solving of the format doesn't actually correlate super well with how many players are playing the format. Certainly not as much as some other factors, such as how many tournaments there are going on, how many organizers there are that are, promising to have big tournaments in the future, how fun it is to play the current format. Certainly if there's, a situation where the format is, has a bunch of not fun play patterns, I think that is something that is an issue that affects how many people want to go play in standard tournaments. But the format being solved doesn't really affect things that much. And so, for example, the modern format has had, essentially the same handful of top decks for several months. And that's true for most portions of the modern format's life cycle. So, to say that a solved format is necessarily an unpopular format, to me, it doesn't really, that argument doesn't really hold water. Yeah, format is fun with format is stale. So yeah. Okay, what is my favorite card that had or has its own rule in the comprehensive rules? And that's a great question. And it kind of does dovetail into some of the other questions that I had prepared, such as, for example, what video am I the most proud of and why? So what I say about that is Henzi Tor, my favorite Magic card. And the reason for that is because when I made my video about does Henzi Tor work, in which I identified that at the time the comprehensive rules did not correctly support the implementation of Henzi Tor's ability the way that it was obviously intended to work. That was one of the most proud accomplishments of my judge career. Literally, since this is before I was a judge. Before I was a judge, I was a Magic player, and for probably about 10 years. When I first started learning the rules, a couple of years into my Magic journey, I started thinking to myself, wow, it would be really cool if I got to be one of the people who got to write these rules. And so at that point, 15 plus years ago, I had set a goal that I think it would be really amazing if I could be personally responsible for just like one rules change in Magic's history. And with Henzi Tor, with that video, I currently am able to say that I accomplished that goal, because the rules were changed about how that ability works. In my opinion, like pretty incontrovertible, directly influenced by the video that I put out about that, which I think was it was such an amazing feeling for me. And if I could say I was like the most proud of one ruling, that's it. And so for that being the case, Henzi Tor is now my favorite Magic card. And yeah, it has its own rule in the CR. I guess it doesn't have its own like private rule, because it kind of has to share that with Sarah. But actually, I believe the Henzi Tor one actually is its own specific rule for Henzi. So yep, there you go. Waiting for Modern Horizons 3 to come out with Shock Triumphs, since power creep is a real thing. You know, the Modern Horizons 2 is my least favorite Magic set. I literally went from having every single deck in Modern, or at least like all the top tier ones, to literally not having a Modern deck. And so if you want to think about like shaking up the format there, yeah, that's pretty rough. Let's see. Have I played the Dan format? So yeah, this is like a like running joke that I have with my friends, that like if I ever become a billionaire, or if like my channel ever becomes like super popular and I like can quit my day job and just like, you know, do whatever I want for a living, I will start my own tournament series, and it will be like one of those alternate formats that people have done, like the you know, the Modern or the Legacy that doesn't have any cards that weren't in Standard. And I will support the heck out of those formats, with like a player council that decides the ban list, rather than like myself or you know, some other third party. Let's see. Is Henzi the first case I know of where a card didn't work? No, there were several other times. Most of the times that a card like got printed and it didn't work, there was like preemptive rules change that like added support, but I can't think of any right off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I've seen like a couple of cases throughout my like Magic career where like it didn't work for like some subtle reason and they had to like change something after the fact. And a lot of the time it was some kind of a corner case that wasn't really like, you know, that likely to come up. But it did represent like a clear case where the card didn't work the way it was supposed to. Let's see. Abeyance didn't work. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I remember hearing something like that. Is there anything in the CR that I would disagree with or that I would like to see changed? Okay, yeah, this is another thing that this is another thing that I you know, get asked about a lot, especially like as a judge with like a you know, well-known rules channel, I guess. So my standard answer to that is Blood Moon. There's a rule in the CR that says that if a land gains a land type, such as a basic land type, such as mountain, then that will also cause the land to lose all of its additional types, which, you know, that's how creature types and such work also. So no problems there. But specifically with lands, it also causes the land to lose all of its abilities and gain the ability from that basic land type. So my thing that I would love to see happen at some point in the future would be if they were to change the comprehensive rules so that changing a land's subtype to a basic land type would not cause it to lose all of its abilities, but rather it would say specifically on the card that the land would lose all of its other abilities. And so if you look at Blood Moon and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, for me, I think that it's very difficult to have a, like, you know, sensible explanation for why with Urborg, you get to keep all of your abilities, so you can still like crack a fetch land with an Urborg out, but you cannot crack a fetch land with a Blood Moon out. And I do not think that makes sense if you look at it like very much at all. So that's one of my like big ones. But like in the spirit of like coming up with a different answer, because I'm you know, have talked about that like before several times, I would say let me think. There certainly are like rules in the CR that I disagree with or would like to see changed. One of the big ones recently is day and night. I would love as a judge, if it was, you know, possible to make it so that if there is a rule that said something like, if there's no cards in play that care about whether it's day or night, then it just stops being day or night, and the players don't have to, because like, you know, when you play your Outland Liberator, you know, you're one of sideboard card, then that means for the entire rest of the game, everybody has to like, untap. Well, let's see. Wait, how many spells did you cast last turn? Ooh, okay. And that's just like, if it is in play on the battlefield for 1 nanosecond, then that means for the entire rest of the game, you have to keep track of an entire additional thing. And I think that is an acceptable situation to be in if you only play on Magic Online. But that is absolutely, you know, it wounds my very soul to see that happen in paper. So let's see here. How does Batterskull and Piracy Charm work? They actually changed it so that when tokens phase out, they're able to phase back in. So that one is not like a super, you know, super broken combo anymore. Favorite dead card game? Okay, so this is gonna be kind of like, I actually like, the only card game I ever really played is Magic. So like when I was a little kid, I played Pokemon, and like hypothetically, I guess I'm a Pokemon judge too. So you know, there is that, like, but I've never played Pokemon. I don't like own any like current Pokemon cards. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh! I like learned how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because like everybody else, I watched the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. So but that's literally the only like real exposure that I have for Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, Flesh and Blood, I you know, maybe trying to learn Flesh and Blood, but you know, that's again, I don't really have any like interest in actually physically playing it. So I did actually play the WoW, the World of Warcraft card game. There was like this friend of mine that wanted me to try it out, and he's like, Dave, you got to try it out. And so I'm like, okay, fine, you know, whatever. I'll go to like one tournament. We'll see how it goes. So he like lends me a deck, and I'm like playing this tournament, and I literally make it to the finals. And like, I actually like, I would have won the finals, but I actually got like really unlucky string of top decks that you know, down the stretch. It was literally my first time playing this game was like that day, and I got to the finals of this tournament just like off the basis of like, you know, being an okay Magic player, and like Magic being like similar enough as far as like, you know, resource management, figuring out who's the beat down, you know, understanding what like, you know, your like overarching goals are, like card advantage and such. So that was kind of funny. So yeah, I guess WoW does anyone play WoW anymore? That's probably my favorite dead one. Let's see. What Wizards decisions have made me rage that's older than my channel? Okay. You know, actually, I really think that like for the first, you know, probably about my first like 10 years of existence as a Magic player, I was really, really satisfied. Like, you know, it's always a meme that like Magic players will like complain about like anything under the sun, and you know, we all love complaining about everything so much and da-da-da. But like, you know, I went through the 10th edition rules changes, and like that was one of the big ones where everyone's like, oh, the sky's falling. But like I personally, I didn't really get too worked up about that one. You know, there was like some other like unpopular ones. I remember when they took cards off the reserve list. And actually that one was not controversial or unpopular at all. When they took cards off the reserve list, everybody was like, yep, okay, no problem. So, you know, that was, you know, that was one that I went through, and I had no problem with that. So like, yeah, I would say that like, you know, most of the decisions I think that is like, you know, certainly the most problematic for me as a judge has all been in the last like 5-ish years or so. So let's see here. If I start messing with Blood Moon, then Saffron Olive is going to challenge me to a duel. Hey, you know, Blood Moon was my first like favorite card before Henzi Tor. So you know, because like all of my like big rulings was Blood Moon. Like Blood Moon plus Urza Saga. That was like one of my first like really big videos that I had. Blood Moon plus Thespian Stage was another big one. Blood Moon plus Conversion was my favorite rules question that I've ever written. So that's that. Oh, see you in Korea soon. Yeah, hopefully, you know, I actually would love to go there. And like, honestly, if they have like a Magic Con, like anywhere near that neighborhood, I am 1,000,000% going to it. Like, even if I don't get staffed as a judge, I'm just going to it. Still working on my Korean though. So, Let's see. Do I know how the playtesting process at Wizards works? Do they have like a business department for that? Is it in any way community driven? I actually do not have any like insider information about how like basically anything at Wizards works as a judge. So the cool part about that is that I'm not under an NDA, so I can, wildly speculate in any way that I want. So as far as that goes, let me just go through. The way I understand it is that like there's like a group that makes up the cards that are in the set, and then they actually play test them. But I don't know if they play test them. Well, they certainly don't play test them in every format, right? It's not like there's like a Canadian Highlander division of Wizards of the Coast that's, trying out all these cards in like Canlander or Pauper or, whatever other formats there are. So I don't know which specific formats are on the list, but like Standard is obviously one of them. And yeah, that's basically what happens. And after they do that, they they do some feedback and they do some iterative design, and that's that. What are some thoughts about posting short form content on YouTube? Are there shorter ruling videos that I think would work this way? So the answer to that is yes, but I don't like publishing that stuff. And it's really sad too, because like I think to myself, like, wow, every time I make a daily ruling, and this is a fact, like every daily ruling video that I put out takes me at least half an hour to produce. And so when you think about that, it's like it takes me like 10 times as long as the length of the video to produce it. And a lot of the times it's like longer than that. It's a lot of the times it's like a full hour. So that being the case, short form content seems like it'd be amazing because like there's no editing, there's no like, basically like doing hardly anything. It's like 30 seconds long, so maybe I would only be spending like 3 minutes producing the whole thing. But that being the case, like I just don't like producing short form content. I've like tried it a couple of times, but like every single time that I make a video and I'm like, okay, this is going to be like a 1 minute video. This is going to be like a 30-second video, like whatever. I'm just going to like say, this is the two cards. This is what happens. And then maybe like a short explanation about why it happens. But I always end up like thinking, oh, what'd be really cool is if I talked about like this other interaction, or it's like, oh, this card is kind of similar to this one, but maybe it would work out a little bit different. So like, it's kind of like funny and sad at the same time, in my opinion, like how I, how much I like to do this sort of stuff. But that's I think that's one of the things that's made my channel successful is that, I don't just say like, this is the answer and that's that. I say like, okay, this is the answer. And then maybe if you change like this aspect of the situation, then the answer would change. Or if you change this aspect of the situation, then it like goes to something. So I think that's something that makes my channel like interesting. So hopefully everybody else agrees with that. So I would love to make more short form content, but I would not like to, I've tried and it's not like what I'm good at, I don't think. Any keywords that I want to become evergreen? I think cycling was a great one when they made that evergreen. I think surveil was kind of questionable. I kind of think that like surveil and scry are like so similar that like it doesn't really make a whole ton of sense for both of them to be evergreen. And I kind of like scry being a evergreen mechanic better because I think that I think that it makes like kind of more sense, but that's like certainly debatable, and I wouldn't be upset if they like got rid of scry and made surveil evergreen, for example. So I think that's kind of a questionable one. I'm trying to think like what mechanics would be kind of cool to see more. Flashback I think would be a cool mechanic to be an evergreen mechanic. I think that would be kind of a cool one, and I think that if they could like standardize flashback for creatures, because they've had like examples of like flashback for creature like several times. They've had like Encore and Eternalize and Unearth, and so there's several mechanics that are like conceptually flashback for creatures. So I think that if they could like standardize on one thing for what flashback for creatures would be, and then like start putting that on creatures, I think that'd be kind of cool. Let's see here. Yeah, the fight one. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. That was really unclear. What was the last ruling that I flat out got 100% wrong? I actually made a video about it. I think it was Claim the Firstborn plus Old Growth Troll. And I like had to make the same ruling again, like in a tournament, and I literally just looked up the video and like ruled the way that I had in the description, because I literally like forgot which was the correct way to rule in that situation. The one that I like, the actual correct ruling, or the one that I gave before, because I'd given both of those rulings before and I like forgot what the difference was. So yeah, that's the last one that I like completely got 100% wrong. And it does happen. Like, even for someone like me who has like I would say like out of all the judges in the judge program, my rules knowledge is certainly above average. And yeah, it does happen. So like literally if you're in a Magic tournament and you like are not convinced that the judge ruled the correct way in a ruling that you just got, if they're the head judge, there isn't a whole lot you can do unless you can like have enough rules knowledge to be able to explain exactly why you think that the ruling should be different. But if it's a bigger tournament where there's multiple judges, then you can appeal that ruling, and hopefully the person who hears the appeal would be able to at least explain it better if the original ruling is correct, or overturn the ruling if the original ruling was incorrect. So let's see. Would I support bringing banding back? Okay, so this is a great one. Actually, I was really excited to see phasing come back. Obviously not as like the mechanic like with a drawback that was originally introduced, like in Mirage Block or whatever. But like bringing banding back would be kind of cool. The problem is that banding is actually a really terrible mechanic for constructed play, because what happens is that like banding is a lot stronger as a defensive tool than it is for an offensive tool. So what basically ends up happening, and anybody who's played like MOM or Vig Basic or like some other format where banding is a thing can attest to this, is that like literally you get in so many creature stalemates where like it's just not possible to profitably attack for either side if there's like some substantial amount of banding creatures from both sides, just because of how banding works. And you can like watch my video that I did all about banding. So I probably would not like bringing banding back as like an evergreen mechanic or as like a block mechanic, but as like a one-of mechanic. Like, if you had like one random creature in a set that had banding, I think that could be kind of a cool throwback. Let's see. Love your content. What's my day job? I am an engineer for a company that does aluminum anodizing, and yeah, that's what is like actually paying my bills. Being a judge is just like a fun hobby. Favorite and least favorite. Ooh boy. Provoke, banding, landwalk, and skulk. I think we're gonna put provoke as my favorite, banding as my next favorite, skulk after that, and then landwalk. Literally skulk, I think that's the one where it's like it can't be blocked by creatures with less power. I'm gonna go ahead and say skulk is actually like, we'll put that one ahead of banding, just because like banding leads to a bunch of creature stalemates, like what I said. Landwalk I think is like actively bad. Like any mechanic that has that big of a swing is bad. Like protection is, in my opinion, a bad mechanic from a game design standpoint, because like literally there's some decks where it does stone nothing, and there's some decks where it's like, because it has protection from this color, I cannot do anything anymore. And mechanics that introduce such a wide variation in the card's playability is in my opinion not good for fun Magic games. So landwalk isn't quite as bad as protection is, but I still think it's bad. What mechanic do I personally dislike the most? So like, I wouldn't say it's a keyworded mechanic, but you know how now all the cards that's like, look at the top X cards of your library and then put one in your hand, and then they always say shuffle the rest and then put them on bottom in a random order. That's my least favorite mechanic, because that is so clunky to do. And I think that anybody who like is at Wizards and thinks that cards should be printed that way should be forced to play paper Magic using those cards, and every time they don't present the like 4 cards that they shuffled to their opponent for a cut, then they get an insufficient shuffling warning. I really, really, really wish that Wizards would stop doing that, or at the very least, if they could find it in their heart to like put a thing in the comprehensor or in the IPG or something that says if a player has to randomize n cards where n is less than a tenth of the number of cards in their starting library, then they don't need to present for a shuffle unless their opponent proactively asks for it. I think that would be, something like that would really be like needed for that sort of mechanic to function correctly in paper. Imagine competitive stat creatures with banding. Yeah, that'd be pretty weird. Yeah, defensive banding is actually like borderline broken as far as a combat mechanic goes. Do I have an EDH deck? Who's the commander? Yes, I actually like. I'm a member of like a group that has like basically like a challenge league. So like every month or so we'll have like a meeting where we have like a specific like challenge that we were trying to do. So like the last one that I did was Pauper Commander. And so like we all had to like play a round of Pauper Commander. And so like my general in that one was Flux Channeler. And I had a Proliferate deck, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't have like a specific regular deck that I keep around. I mostly just like go based off what our like challenge of the month is and like try to build like the best or the coolest version of that deck. This month I'm doing Vorinclex, by the way. So yeah, that's that. I'm really looking forward to that one. Let's see. What's my favorite one-shot mechanic that's only been in one set? It's got to be one of those Future Sight ones, right? Like Future Sight had like a million different mechanics, and like I was playing back in Future Sight, and so I got to see like all of them and experience all of them in like standard and limited play. And I really was impressed by like how much like unexplored design space that there was. It'd probably be one of the ones from there. If I had more time to think about it, maybe I could come up with a couple of good ones. True Name Nemesis, yeah, it's a good one. What do I think about more support for Legacy and Vintage formats, cards and tournament play? So here's the thing. I would love, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Legacy is my favorite format, back when it was a format. But I can't in good conscience say that anymore. Because literally Legacy is not a format anymore. Like, in my opinion, in order to count as a real format, there has to be like some support and like some tournaments going on for it. And like, honestly, like, we're at a spot where there's like more Grand Melee tournaments per year than there are Legacy tournaments per year. So I can't in good conscience say Legacy's a format anymore. But that being the case, I would love if Legacy were like, popular again. Like if an organizer like SCG, back when they had their like SCG tour, or like have like Grand Prix, like really, really big Legacy tournaments. The problem is that it's not really reasonable. If you look at like how much money a tier 1 Legacy deck costs, it literally just like, the amount of money it costs to play Legacy or Vintage is just like so high that it's like I couldn't in good conscience like recommend that a person spend that much money on like a format that they can only play like a couple of times a year. So it really hurts me to say that because like I said, I love Legacy as a format. And as a person who owns like 4 of every dual land, I would personally light every dual land I own on fire if Wizards would commit to like reprinting them into the ground so that they would be like an affordable thing for a normal person to be able to buy. I was fortunate enough that I got into Legacy like a few price doublings ago, back when it was like, basically like what Modern is now. That's like how much it would cost to buy like a Legacy deck, maybe a little bit more. But with the state of things now, I can't really say that it's like reasonable to expect other people to do something like that. Why do they still tell you to shuffle your deck after searching? Isn't it just bloat? No, because like if you're like a savvy tournament player, and especially if you have like 1 or 2 ofs, you could see like where those were in your deck and get like a substantial advantage for it. So I think that's reasonable. Let's see. Judge Academy could make a policy update without Wizards. Yeah, I mean, I guess they could. Judge Academy is not the people who like controls the content of the MTR, which is the document that like does all that stuff for like sanctioned Magic tournaments. But that being the case, Pauper Commander sounds so much worse. That's the cool thing about having like a monthly challenge league, is because like if it's fun, then you can like maybe do it again in the future. But if it's not fun, then you can just like bury it and never speak of it again. Exert, yeah, I like Exert. That's a fun one. Legacy Horizons cards only legal in Legacy and Vintage. Yeah, they actually have that. It's called Every Commander Precon. It's called the World of Warcraft cards that they just put out. It's called the like Lord of the Rings ones that they're about to put out. They do that literally all the time. Legacy Horizons. Let's see. Cost of Legacy and Vintage has only gone up due to the reserve list. And again, like I am 100% in favor of reprinting every reserve list card just the way that we've reprinted like every other card. And if a bunch of people who confused Magic cards with an investment vehicle get burned by that, then so be it. That's my personal opinion on that. Power level is high enough to replace 80% of current Legacy decks. Yeah, that's kind of true too. The other problem I have with Legacy is that like they all these like power crept new mechanics that they have kind of been like really doing the format pretty rough in my opinion. So, but I haven't played Legacy in a long time, so I can't say for sure. Seems to be more of a Magic Online format. Yeah, that's kind of true. Let's see here. What canon playing without a set would I like to see a set based on? And this is a very easy question for me to answer. Chandelar. I would love to see a Chandelar set. If you have ever played the Magic like RPG / MMO, not really an MMO, but if you've ever played the Magic game Chandelar, like the computer game, that is like one of my favorite things. It's like so. I think it's really fun to play, and it's really fun to like do deck building and like challenges around like, okay, can I build like a good deck without using swords to plowshares or stuff like that. And I really think that was fun. So yeah, Chandelar has a special place in my heart. I would love to have like a canon Magic set that was from Chandelar. Let's see here. So let's see the favorite art on a Magic card, and there's like a few. Like I'm a fan of like the Magic art for somebody who doesn't like really, have a big investment in the Magic storyline or the flavor aspects of stuff. I really do appreciate the art. I'm trying to think of like some of my like favorite ones that we've had recently. I think that like a lot of the basic lands are really solid, and I feel really bad for like the artists who like do basic lands, because I feel like 9/10 of the time, probably more than that, like 99% of the time maybe, like people literally like they don't even look at the art on the basic lands, which is a real shame, because like the artists who make those artwork, they're spending just as much time on the lands as they do on like any other thing. And like a lot of them are really beautiful. So like John Avon, one of my favorite artists, probably one of his forests from 8th edition, would be like one of my top arts. Again, this is probably one that like if I had like a week to come up with like an answer, I could say like definitively, yep, this is the one. But I don't have like a like ready story where I like have a specific thing that I'm going to talk about here. So let's see here. Any possibility that I'm going to Barcelona? Yes, indeed. So number one, my birthday is that weekend, so that would be really fun if I got to go on a Magic trip during my birthday weekend. Number two would be foreign language. Now, no hablo mucho español, so that would be like kind of an obstacle. As far as like reading, I can read a lot of Spanish, and like if you are speaking Spanish slowly and only using small words, then I can probably understand most of what you're saying. But as far as like me personally communicating to somebody else in Spanish, that would be kind of a tall order. But that being said, I would absolutely love the opportunity to get to go to Barcelona for that Magic Con, and I'm certainly going to be applying to do so. So fingers crossed that I get accepted and that I get to go over there and be a part of that. Let's see, the main reason to play Commander for me is broken cards that are banned in Legacy. Yeah, kind of. Do I know anything about the tournament scene in Canada? Also, I'd love Shandor. I like vaguely know, like mostly what I know about the tournament scene in Canada is that if I had any like specific questions that I wanted to know the answer of, I know a couple of like specific colleagues that I would be able to like message on Facebook and like ask them, and then they would be able to provide me with like whatever information that I think I would need. I've never been to any of the like current. I know that there's a couple of organizers now who are working in Canada, and I've never like worked with any of them. I've only been to Canada one time for a Magic tournament, and that was GP Toronto several years ago. But that was a fun time, and Canada is like the closest foreign country to me. It's like 6-hour drive to get to Toronto. So that's like close if you live in the US. That's pretty close as far as what we normally would be dealing with. So yeah, I'd love to go in the future. Chandelier my favorite plane of all time. Yeah, awesome. Wizards, are you watching this? Gavin, Marrow, please, Chandelier set win. Can someone who's already an L1 still be a good judge if they only play Magic digitally? Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of judges who like don't play Magic at all, like full stop. Like, and if you think about that, I think that's kind of weird. Like I personally, I still play FNMs, but that's like the only Magic I really play. So like, I wish I could play more, but like, I guess, I'm slowly falling into that category myself. But I really think that like to be a good judge, you have to at least be like playing the game, and at least have like some level of familiarity with whatever format that you're judging, to really be a good judge. With that being the case, do I think that you could be a good judge if you play digitally? Yeah. I think that the main benefit you get from playing is like the format familiarity. And like that's super huge when it comes to investigations. Like being able to evaluate like how much of an advantage someone got from a misplay that they did is like so huge when it comes to like investigating whether someone might have committed a mistake intentionally or not. Do I plan on returning to the 4 Horsemen combo deck? So many questions, like when could a player try the loop again? And would Lantern of Insight in play affect it? If you've got like specific rules questions, and this isn't like just for this person, but for like anyone who has like specific rules questions, definitely like submit them. I have my like email in the channel description. I have my form that you can submit stuff to. No guarantees that I'll get to it, but like those are some really interesting questions, and I definitely would be like kind of interested in like addressing some of those topics in maybe a longer form video. Let's see. Magic supplemental products have ceased to exist. The reason might be Commander, but those Magic modes were fun. They imitated some of the EDH feeling. Have I played them? I have not played like any of the like supplemental game modes. Like a lot of the reason is because like they're not really aimed at like my player personality or my player type or whatever. So like obviously I'm been playing for 20 years. I'm not going to really be like interested in like Jumpstart or whatever that is. Anything that's like aimed towards newer players, which I think a lot of the newer game modes kind of are. I haven't played Plane Chase, but I kind of want to. When they had Conspiracy, I was actually a big fan of the Conspiracy format. So I have played like a few of them. I'm not like a soulless, competitive player or whatever, but yeah. I might be able to. I heard that you are able to go to Barcelona, so I might meet you there. That's honestly, that's like one of the biggest reasons for me to like want to go to Barcelona is to get to meet some like fans that might not otherwise be able to like interact with. So like several years ago, I went to Grand Prix in Amsterdam, and like I would say like a solid 50% of the reason that I was interested in going to Amsterdam was because there was like 2 specific judges who gave me like exemplar recognitions from the Netherlands, and I wanted to be able to meet those judges. So I like went to GP Amsterdam with the specific intention in mind of like being able to like meet and talk to those 2 judges who wrote such nice things about me. So like yes, I would absolutely love to get to go to like Europe, Asia, Australia, wherever there's like big Magic tournaments being held. I would love to go all around the world and like get to talk to like all the people, because like for me that's one of the biggest things about judging for the win that I like is knowing that there's people like out there all over the world who I'm being able to like help in some way with this game that we share in common. And I think that's like one of the coolest things in the world. Thank you for the quality videos. Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. So how do we apply for Magic Con Barcelona? So the organizer that like makes those decisions is called Pastimes. They probably any time now, like within the next couple of weeks, I would expect would be there's going to be like a thing on their website where they're like soliciting judges. If you go on their website, you can join their Discord, and they'll have like an announcement on that when they open the registry or the application period up. And then from there, it's literally just like writing an application that stands out to the judge manager and getting accepted. So, yep, that's fingers crossed for you. That's how you would do it. What's my opinion on AI generated magic cards? That's an interesting one. I actually haven't looked at a whole lot of them. I've seen some of the clickbait thumbnails where it's like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh player plays AI generated magic cards, or X player reviews AI generated magic cards with the big wide-eyed surprise face clickbait thumbnail. But I haven't actually watched any of the videos or anything. So I think they're kind of funny, the ones that I've seen. But maybe in the future, one of the things that got suggested for the next month's round of patron pick videos was me reviewing AI or custom magic cards. So maybe if I do that topic again, I'll throw some AI cards into the mix. Really enjoy your videos. The quick looks into the beautiful system of magic are so delightful when they pop up on. Oh, thank you so much. My videos are pure gold for anyone interested in in-depth rules of magic, and that's so. When I make these videos, literally the goal that I have is I want to be the resource that I wish that I had when I was learning this stuff. And so whenever I hear people make comments that I help them learn the rules, or it's useful to them to be able to watch my videos so that they can learn more about magic, that's it means so much to me, because that's literally the exact purpose that I have for making these. So make a video with a shocked face thumbnail. I kind of did at one point. I did a collab with Zbex, who's a cosplayer, a really talented cosplayer that and what I did was I asked a question about some card that she had a cosplay of, and then I had the thumbnail, I had her in the middle of one of her reactions to something. And yeah, I asked it, and then I asked the question to her, and then she answered it in the cosplay of the character that it involved. So I thought it was a really fun video, and there was a lot more views on that one. Maybe it was because of the shock face thumbnail, but there you go. Someone can clip that and use that on whatever social media you're trying to do. Photoshop Mr. Beast onto the cards. Hey, yeah, there we go. Maybe that's the thing. Mr. Beast, if you're watching, we could do a collab. Just saying, that's on the table. If Mr. Beast called me up and asked to do a collab, I would do it. Honestly, if basically anybody called me up and asked to do a collab, I would do it. I like I said before, I really love working with other people. There's just so many cool things you can do if you have another person involved. So let's see. There's a couple other kind of questions that people submitted to me that I think are kind of an interesting questions, or things that I would like to talk about. So let's maybe go through a couple of these things here. So one of them said, do I have any plans to start writing articles again? And if not, why not? And so for reference, I didn't always have a YouTube channel. Before I had the YouTube channel, I actually had a blog. And I think the blog's still around. I think you could still find it if you look for it. I don't really focus on keeping it up to date, so there's probably some out of date information in there. But with that being the case, I had a blog I started out at. So the reason that that's important or interesting or whatever would be that that's kind of how I got my start making content as a content creator. So would I ever go back to that? Probably not. And the reason why not is because it kind of sounds sounds bad when I say it out loud, but so here's the thing: writing an article and making a video takes close to the same amount of time. By far, the longest part of the process for making a YouTube video is writing the script. And so obviously you still have to write the maybe not script but thing when you're writing an article. So it doesn't save that much time, and it's infinity times harder to monetize or get any benefit out of. So if I had a large subscriber base that was already reading my written articles, then maybe, because then I could feel I can reach this many people making a video, or I can reach this many people writing an article, so maybe it's close. But with the current setup that I have now, where I have a bunch of people subscribed to my YouTube channel, and nobody even knows about my blog, and YouTube channel monetization already set up versus nothing set up for the blog, and takes about the same amount of time as making a video. So realistically, probably not. If there's any like specific things that you would like to see an article about, or go ahead and email me, and maybe we'll work together on that somehow. Let's see. Yeah, any chance of bringing back the Judge channel? I have to talk with Dalton. He still lives in town, so there's a chance we could bring him on for something like that. Could be kind of fun. The problem is that like we kind of ran out of like things that we were like really excited about making videos about. Like there's a certain number of topics that really lend themselves well to like longer form content. And we'd kind of gotten through most of the different topics that we were really like excited to produce. So unless we like come up with like some more like really solid topics, I'm not really sure if I would be like regularly making long form content like that. Let's see, where can we find the blog? I have a link to it in my channel description. Let's see here. Any reason to take the rules advisor test if you're not planning on going further with judging? Not really. Like honestly, like, so here's a fun fact. Back when there was PPTQs, in order to judge a PPTQ as the head judge, you officially had to be a level 2 judge. Sometimes people think that that's how it works with RCQs, but it turns out that's not the case. And in fact, in order to be the head judge of a lot of things right now, there is like no requirement that you need to be a certified Magic judge. Now, would it probably increase your credibility as a tournament official if you were to have some sort of a certification? Yeah, probably. But like there, in a lot of cases, isn't an actual requirement for that to be the case. And so like if the only judging you do is like local events and like store level events, and your player base already knows you and respects you as a judge and like understands that you're the person who's like giving rulings, I wouldn't really say there's like a whole lot of purpose to getting certified. Mostly the purpose of getting certified is that like you would be able to participate in like official judge activities like conferences. B, you would have access to like the like Judge Academy forums, which is where like a lot of opportunities are like you can find opportunities that you might otherwise not have been able to know about. So that's probably what I would say about that. Let's see. Oh, we love your content. Answered a lot of questions for us. Thank you. First time I saw a reason for the difference. Yeah. Yeah, the if versus win thing is kind of weird because like a lot of the time they've made like cards like that in like current day, like they've used the win template. So it's kind of weird for me to see the if one still being used. Let's see. Being a rules advisor can help you get on staff for an event. That's also true. Like if you're trying to get on staff for an event with an organizer you've never worked with, especially like a bigger organizer, they would like to see like some sort of a like certification thing, even if it's not like a level 1. Let's see here. Tried using ChatGPT for rules questions that none of us could answer. No matter what the answer was, we double checked with Reddit or MTG. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. Like I've seen the thing on Facebook. Like a couple of my colleagues posted stuff like that. With like ChatGPT, and yeah, like we're not quite there yet as far as like having a AI judge. I would say that like if there was a way to put Moto into a sandbox mode and then like use that, that would be really great. I wouldn't mind using that as like a resource, especially for like stores that like didn't have a judge that they could rely on. But yeah, like asking ChatGPT is basically like a worse version of like doing a Reddit search or Google search or something. Waffles or pancakes? Okay, so that's actually kind of a tough one. I would say that like in a vacuum, I would rather have pancakes, but like a lot of the time you're not just eating the waffle or the pancake. You're putting some kind of a topping on it, right? So like, and I feel like the combination of waffles plus jam or waffles plus syrup or waffles plus most toppings is better than the like equivalent pancakes plus that topping pairing. So that's what I would say about that. Favorite creature class? Okay, so that'd be like rogues or clerics or something. I think I'm gonna go with advisor on this one. Reason being is because a lot of the time, like, you have like creatures that you make up like to represent yourself as like an avatar for yourself. So like a lot of judges and a lot of Magic players do stuff like that. So I've thought long and hard about what I think my like creature type would be if I was a Magic card. And obviously I would be a human, but like what would the other type be? And I think Advisor kind of like settles on like the one type that I think like really closest to my own personal what I would be. So yeah, human Advisor. So let's see. Which video did I learn the most from making? And actually, this one is the answer for this one is like pretty recent. I would say it would be like the one that I did just recently about. Let's see. It was about it was about mutate, the mutate mechanic. And so I really did learn a lot for that one. I mentioned when I was in the video, I mentioned that I had basically, like, it came out during COVID, and I was kind of silently hoping that there just would never, ever be any mutate questions that I would have to answer, so I wouldn't have to learn how this mechanic worked. And I was, like, kind of joking, but, like, kind of serious when I said that. And so, obviously, I had to learn how mutate worked, like, basically entirely to make that video. So that's probably the one that I learned the most. Let's see here. Is Praetor a class? That's an interesting one. I think that Phyrexian would be a race, and then Praetor would be a class. Because, like, Praetor is like your job, your like function in the like Phyrexian ecosystem. And I feel like Phyrexian would be more of a race because like that's kind of like what the glistening oil does, right? Is it like corrupts you into being a Phyrexian. So I think that's probably right. Am I going to Command Fest Indy? Unfortunately, no. I before the date of that Command Fest was announced, I'd already committed to another event for a different organizer, so I will not be available to go to that one. Lightning Bolt, why does it say any target? Well, I'm not really sure what the like what else it would say, right? Like, so any target, there's a specific thing in the comprehensive rules where it like specifies exactly what that means. And so the term any target would refer to like any of the things that it would legally be able to target. So it's like a shorter way to say like target creature, player, battle, planeswalker, or there might be one more that I'm forgetting, but yeah, any of the things that it would be able to target. Because I'm a judge and I have some experience, could I share with you the most complicated rule or ruling that I have ever encountered? So I'm going to assume that like this question is asking about like stuff that like actually happened in a tournament, right? Because like if we're counting stuff that I've encountered on like online forums where people are trying to come up with like the craziest, wackiest situation possible, that's pretty out there. Like it would be hypothetically I could come up with some crazy stuff, but like I don't think that's as interesting as one that actually like came up in a real game. So let me try and think about like what the weirdest one that I had come up with. It's kind of it's kind of telling, the fact that I have to like think this hard to come up with an interesting story that a lot of the time these things don't really come up very much. So probably like back when Krark-Clan Ironworks was in Modern, like it was a legal card in Modern, there was this really complicated combo deck that worked with that card. And I actually made like a whole video on my channel where I talked about like exactly how the combo worked. And it was pretty crazy. Like there was a lot of stuff about how that combo worked that was not intuitive at all, and there were a lot of different things that you could mess up when you were doing this combo. If you're interested in how that worked, I definitely would recommend that. Another thing that like actually came up for me like a couple of times was Amy and Nick both control a Huntmaster of the Fells. And then, because of the number of spells that was played during the previous turn, they both transformed during Amy's upkeep. So what is the end result? And that is actually like a pretty complicated situation. This is a thing that happened before I became certified as a judge, and it did happen fairly often in standard when that card was legal in standard. And basically, like the Cliff Notes version is that like Amy gets literally everything she wants because she can. The way that it works, like the way that the triggered abilities stack, Amy's Huntmaster of the Fells can transform and then deal 2 damage to Ravager of the Fells, and that will kill Nick's Huntmaster of the Fells before it is able to transform and have 4 toughness. So that was another kind of one that was fairly complicated. And then if you remember the Revelark combo back when Revelark was in standard, so like a little bit before that, Revelark was very very complicated combo deck. So that's like probably like the weirdest things that I've like ever had happen in like tournaments or games that I was actually part of. Yeah, another reason why they don't use or why they use any target is future proofing. Very good point. And we saw exactly that when they introduced battles, right? Like they introduced a new card type that could take damage, and any target, all the stuff that said any target before battles were even existed, those cards all work perfectly well with no errata. And now that there's an entire new card type that came up with the ability to be targeted with a damage dealing spell. Let's see. Is there a reason that cards that gain in addition to their other type, when it's on a land, it'll say it's still a land? That's an interesting question. I'm not sure if there's like a rules difference in between those two templatings. So in fact, like I believe there is like some other stuff that'll say like it's a land in addition to, or where a land will change to a different type, and it'll say something like it becomes like an artifact in addition to its other types or something like that. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But as far as like, is there a rules difference? Not really. If it says, and in fact, there's like a rule in the comprehensive rules where it specifically talks about that situation, and it lists both of those as like possible things that an effect could say, and they both mean like basically the same thing. Let's see. Did I ever judge events when Second Sunrise was a top deck that made events so long? No, I believe that was banned before I became. Maybe not. Maybe there actually was like some events that like I got to see the Second Sunrise deck. I don't remember ever personally being part of any events that like Second Sunrise was in, but that was quite a long time ago. So there's a very good chance that I could be forgetting about that. Lightning Bolt can target an enchantment. So that's an interesting question. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that any target would mean that it has to be like a damageable target. So I will, that's a very interesting point, and there certainly are like some reasons why you might like be interested in doing that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that like if something says like deals X damage to any target, you have to like have a target that is capable of being dealt damage somehow. And I'm not sure exactly like what the CR says specifically to make that be the case, but like off the top of my head, that's what I think the answer would be. Let's see here. So what is my advice to improve as a judge and become level 2? So that is a great question. But I think it's probably best to think about it in terms of like not just being one question, but being like 2 questions. Because I think that like it makes sense to consider those two things separately. So if your goal is to improve as a judge, what I would say as advice would be to figure out like a specific thing that you want to improve on, and then take steps to specifically focus your improvement on that topic. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of different like things that judges have to be able to do, right? And so just by the nature of that, you're going to be like better at some of those things and worse at like some other things. And realistically, it's not uncommon at all for somebody who's like a level 1 to have a level 3 performance in certain of those attributes. And like obviously that depends on like the specific experiences and like, you know, things that individual judge is good or bad at. But it certainly is something that happens that like someone who's, you know, a level 1 will have, you know, performance that's way above what a normal ordinary level 1 would be in certain, you know, attributes. So, but that also means that like all your attributes are going to be like different stat values. And so like in anything else, if you focus on whatever stat you're the lowest at, that's going to be the thing that's probably going to be the easiest for you to improve at. So, or at least make a noticeable improvement in. So with that being the case, I really think that like that's the way to go. Is you want to get like one specific stat that you want to try to improve on and like figure that out. So how would you do that? Well, this is one of the things that I really like about the judge program is it's very like open in that it's like even if someone's like, you know, really well known within the judge program, it's very doable for most people to be able to get staffed on an event where that person is, or to like go to an event where that person is. And even if you can't do that, it's generally very doable for you to be able to like find that person on like Facebook or Twitter or something, and like message them and be like, hey, you know, you're someone who I really admire because I think you're really good at like, you know, X stat. I'm trying to improve in X stat. What would you recommend for someone like me? And a lot of the time you're able to like, you know, get a hold of people and like they'll give you like actual advice about what they, because you know, that's literally what the judge program is all about, is like helping other people out. So that's one of the things that I think. So if you're interested in improving as a judge, that's what I would want to do. Now, if you're interested in getting level 2, obviously like one way to do that would be to like just improve as a judge, and then maybe naturally you'll improve in enough ways to like become a level 2. But the problem is that like there's actually like some extra steps involved in becoming a level 2 that like don't actually really have anything to do with like being a better judge. They mostly have to do with like finding other judges to help you out, which is another reason why I suggested that specific way of improving, because it gets you some practice doing something that you're gonna need to have some practice with, which is networking. So that's kind of what I think. Can I rate your custom mechanic? You know, maybe let's see what we got here. Idealize, choose target triggered ability you control, create an enchantment with 2 tap X, where X is the targeted triggered ability. So there's probably like some templating that we would need to like change in order to make that like work with 100% of triggered abilities that exist in Magic. But like it's pretty obvious what you're trying to do. I think that's a cool idea for a mechanic. For game balance reasons, I feel like there's probably some you know, numbers that we would need to do. So like right out of the gate, I would say that like Storm is a pretty big you know, pretty big like triggered ability that could be potentially really abusable with this mechanic, depending on how we worded it. I think just like having a repeatable way to like trigger on demand is like something that like is really tough to do in the rules, because like triggered abilities can have like some pretty specific trigger conditions, whereas if you had like something that had like an activated ability that where you can just like get a triggered ability at any time, I feel like there's probably some card in Magic's history where that's, you know, either really broken or like really unclear as to how it would function. Let's see. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Let me think. So let's kind of go through a couple more things. I feel like you'd have to exile the ability. You know, that's another kind of interesting point. You know, you might want to do something like that if you're gonna copy it. It probably wouldn't be like an infinite, but it probably would be like you might need to like make a new instance of the ability to make it work right. But yeah, that's one of those things where I feel like there's probably like, there's probably some card out there where like if someone like showed me like this card, I would be like, oh yeah, that card exists, and that would not play very nicely with that ability. Let's see. So how has Judging for the Win affected my skills and my growth as a judge? And I would say like one of the biggest things is like it like the obvious answer to that question would be like I do a bunch of research on like stuff. So, I probably because of like Judging for the Win, both like the blog and now the YouTube channel, I've probably read the CR more than like 99% of judges. And so like that's like an obvious like cop out kind of an answer to that question. Obviously it is nice, like, but like I wouldn't really say it's like maybe better at like giving rulings or anything. Maybe better at doing research, but probably not like for rulings. But with that being said, my growth as a judge, it's been like very, very pivotal as far as that goes, because I'm able to like there's a lot of people that I've met in the Magic and Judge community that I met like as a result, like direct result of Judging for the Win. And some of those people are like really really close friends now, or really people that I like to work with, and so that I think is like probably the biggest way that Judging for the Win has influenced me as a judge. So yeah, let me think about what else what else would I say about Judging for the Win in general. I think that really it would be like the whole thing that we're doing is like to celebrate like 16,000 subs. And so why like 16,000? I basically like early on I did the decision where it would be every channel doubling that happened. So it's every like binary power of 2 is the reason why I did 16K. So it's gonna be kind of weird because at some point it might be like, I'm celebrating 128,000 subs instead of 100,000, which, maybe we'll have to adjust it or something. Yeah, my compensation for judging was less than my expenses for judging. Yeah, that's very reasonable. That's a very like common kind of a thing. It's very important for especially like as somebody who doesn't live like in like the Midwest or the East Coast, where it's more reasonable to get to drive to a lot of tournaments. But I know a lot of judges who like go to events and they'll like barely break even, or they'll even go in the negative. I'm too spoiled to do stuff like that. For me, I live very close to a lot of big cities, and so that means that I can drive to most of the events that I go to, and for me that makes it a lot easier to come out in the black when I go to an event. And so basically for me, I just don't go to, or like don't consider going to any event where I don't think I'm gonna end up in the black. Now Barcelona, special occasion, will we can go to that event even if we're losing money. But that's not like going to an event at that point. That's like going on vacation. And, maybe part of that vacation is you like go to a Magic tournament for a few days, right? So like for me, that's like my like philosophy as far as that goes. Do I like the reserve list? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Take all the cards off it. Did you know that Clone used to be on the reserve list? It did. Then they decided that they wanted to reprint Clone, and so they took it off the reserve list. And that's a real thing that really happened in Magic's history. It would be pretty cool if Wizards like use that same logic that they used for Clone to take Bayou and Tropical Island and some of the other cards off the reserve list. Zephyd can stay on the reserve list. We want to protect the investors who invested in Magic product and had bulk rares, that way we can protect their value. But at the same time, if we took some of these other cards off of, yeah, I believe Sol Ring used to also be on the reserve list. Certainly was not reprinted in fourth edition, so. Or maybe it was. Maybe it was in some of the later ones. But yeah, so Sol Ring, I believe, also was. And it's kind of crazy to think that, like, if Mana Crypt was printed as widely as Sol Ring was, it would also probably be in, like, basically every EDH deck. I forget where I, like, read that or heard about that. But yeah, it's probably true. Like, so... Funny story about Mana Crypt. When I was in college, I had a roommate. And this roommate of mine was like a fantasy guy. Like he liked reading fantasy books, and so he had read the Magic novels. Did not play Magic, had never played Magic, but he liked fantasy books, so he read some of the Magic novels. And I saw it in his room. I saw like the book that like was the one for like the Mana Crypt, right? So if you don't know, Mana Crypt, by the way, for a long time there was one way that you could get a Mana Crypt, and the Mana Crypt was like the way you got it was there was this coupon in the back of one of the Magic novels, and you could like cut that coupon out and then mail it to them, and then they would send you a Mana Crypt. And I promise you that it was a real thing. It sounds like so made up when I'm saying it now, but I promise that's a real thing. But yeah, that's what you would do to get a Mana Crypt, and that's up until I want to say up until the Judge promo, that was the only way that you could get a Mana Crypt. And now of course like there's a couple of other ones that you can get, but like that's literally what you do. So yeah, I was like going through this guy's fantasy books, and I seen that one. I was like, oh, can I check this one out? And yeah, I pulled it down off the shelf, and sure enough, I flipped to the bag, and it still had the stupid coupon for the Mana Crypt. And I was like, bro, you should have sent this in. It'd be worth a lot of money now if you would have sent this one in. Could have paid for the book and everything. So yeah, that's kind of a fun story. I every time I think of Mana Crypt, I think of that story. I actually have a Mana Crypt that's like an actual book Mana Crypt, and then I have a couple of the Judge promo ones too. But that's every time that I play that Mana Crypt, I always think about that story because I think that's kind of funny. And yeah, I mean, like, if you never play Magic, no reason to waste your time sending stuff in. And maybe as the Sewers of Estrar or whatever it's called, book 2. Oh yeah, we're at the point where people don't remember Player Wars. Yeah, boy, I remember Player Wars. That was fantastic. I love Magic Player Rewards, and I really wish that they could bring that back. Unfortunately, like I'm not like one of those Magic players that like feels entitled to everything, and like why can't they do it? I understand why they gave it, or why they took that program away, because it like I can't imagine how much money it would cost them to ship that stuff like all over the world and like keep track of all that stuff. But yeah, that being said, I really did like Magic Player Rewards, up except for the part where they put like Cryptic Command as the promo and stuff, Thoughtseize, which is like completely inscrutable why they would have done that. But other than that, I have absolutely nothing bad to say about that program, and it was so fun of an experience every like quarter to look forward to like getting my package of player promos. What do I think about Commander staples like Command Tower, Sol Ring, Path of Ancestry? If anybody has any extra Path of Ancestries, I actually don't own one yet. But as far as like the other ones, like the Sol Ring and stuff goes, yeah, I'm I don't mind having, because like here's the thing, like just by the nature of like Magic in general, there's gonna be like format staples, right? Like there's gonna be cards that are like good in basically every deck. So like it doesn't really make sense to like try to achieve a format where that isn't the case, because no matter what you do, there's always going to be like some card that's the best at doing whatever effect it is, right? And so like if you get rid of that card, then it's not going to like make it so there's one less staple. It's just going to make it so that like the staple is going to be something else, because there's now going to be like another card that's in that thing. Now like stuff like Command Tower, that's if we took Command Tower away, then that wouldn't like change the format very much. If we took Sol Ring away, that like probably would change the format quite a bit. But like I don't have a problem with like specific cards like being in basically every deck. Let's see, only rare cards on the list due to modernizing. Can you find there some uncommons? Yeah. So like it used to be that I think that every card that's on the reserve list was a rare at one point. Like maybe they like downshifted some of them to being uncommons, but like there was like some printing where it was a rare. I think that's like the criteria that they like settled on, or that they're like currently using. But like I actually don't know. I just know that like if you like type in MTG reserve list, then you can like find it somewhere, and then that's the list of cards that there is. So I don't like try and figure out like what the rule is to try and like, you know, decide which cards are on the list and which ones aren't. I just go based off of, you know, if I ever need to know, I'll just look something up. So, but yeah. Let's see. Don't play Command Tower in our playgroup or Mana Crypt. Yeah, and that's like another very like valid thing. Like if you're playing Magic, like literally, like Commander as a format, I don't think it really makes sense outside of the context of like having a regular group of people that you're playing with. I think that like the way to play Commander like the most fun is to, you know, have your group of people and all of you agree on what Commander is for you. And with that being the case, you know, yeah, that makes things a lot easier, because, you know, if you don't want tutors taking like, you know, 10 minutes to like search and shuffle every turn cycle, then just, you know, soft ban on tutors. Like, okay guys, like let's you know, not play you don't like Soul Ring, just be like, okay guys, no more Soul Ring. You know, you don't want to have like, you know, X general, you know, okay guys, no more Vorin clicks or whatever it is. So yeah, with that being the case, you know, that's what I think, like you get the best like Commander experience out of doing stuff like that. I think makes me feel spoiled in every other way. yeah. Unfortunately, there's like not a lot of opportunities to go to like big Magic tournaments by driving, unless you're like super like to drive. How do you propose someone deals with a judge who's 100% wrong, but there's no other judges present to appeal to? That's a tough one. And, you know, obviously, I'm going to say something that's like not like very practical, but like the way I would deal with it is like, I would be like, okay, so, and then that's about how much time I would probably take to be able to like find the specific rule and the comprehensive rules to be able to like show this person like, okay, what I said is correct and what you said is not correct. That being said, I understand that like, if you don't have a stupidly high familiarity with the comprehensive rules, that's not a like practical solution. So with that being the case, what you want to do is, you need to have like good communication skills to be able to like explain to the other person what your point of view is and why your point of view is correct. But the sad and true fact is, like, anytime you've got like referees of any kind, you know, they're human and they're going to make mistakes too, right? So the problem is that you know, that's a problem that every like game or sport that has tournament officials that are making decisions has to deal with. And, you know, it kind of does suck, but like, you know, at some point in time, if you like play long enough, you're going to be one of the people that gets impacted by one of those mistakes that the tournament official makes. And, you know, obviously that feels bad, but, you know, resign yourself now to the fact that, like, you know, at some point it could happen to you, and maybe you'll be able to explain what the problem is in a good enough way, you know, communicate it well enough to the other person that they'll be able to like side with you, maybe not. But, you know, that's unfortunate fact of how this works. Previously reviewing custom cards before. Did you ever do custom card design yourself? You know, not really. It is like, I am like interested in templating and in like game design in general, but like I've never like designed my own Magic cards. You know, it's something that it's sort of like cosplay in that like I appreciate it and I admire other people who do it, but I've never like really felt called to do it myself. When I first subbed to you, you had like 4 boxes behind you. Look at you now. Well, to be fair, I had most of these boxes before. I was just like putting them out like one at a time to kind of like slow roll people. So yeah, Arena was also a book promo. I remember that. Sewers of something or other was a book promo. That's I think there might even be like one more, like a 4th one. But yeah, like all these, by the way, are like, those are all booster boxes that I earned from judging. So I have another event coming up in a couple of weeks here. If anybody else is OCD about this empty space here, then rest easy, because it's coming up soon in the next couple of weeks here. I expect to have that space filled, and it'll be nice and pleasing, like all the way across. Now, one thing that I will say is a little bit kind of unfortunate is that they literally changed the size of Magic boxes. So if you take a look at this box and this box, I'm going to show you something, and this is going to blow some people's minds right now. But literally, these boxes are not the same size. This box is taller than this box, and like it drove me like crazy trying to figure out why my boxes were so crooked, and that's the reason why. So I promise you, part of it is because like the boxes are like not perfectly square. So, but that's the reason why there's this one is a little bit taller than this one, is because the boxes are literally different sizes. So that's kind of funny. Can I highlight some differences in the judge experience before the existence of smartphones? Unfortunately, no. I have never been a judge during a time when smartphones did not exist. However, I can tell you some stuff that I heard from other judges who have more time in the program than me. So, like, we kind of like take it for granted now, like how much smartphones are like a big thing. I do remember like being a player when smartphones came out, and smartphones like changed the game in like so many ways. Smartphones, like, literally back before smartphones existed, it was literally a thing. Like, a trade binder was just a thing that everybody had. Like, literally every person who went to Magic on like a regular basis, at least at the stores in my area, would have a trade binder. And like that was literally a thing that you would do. Like after your game was over, like if your round was like done, you would literally like walk around and talk to people and be like, hey, you got any trades? Hey, can I see your trade binder? And you literally could like flip through people's binders and like trade cards with them. But then smartphones came out and they killed it. And how did they kill it? Because everybody who knows Magic players knows that they do not want to lose that trade by 35 cents. And so that's literally what happened. With the fact that people could look up what all the cards cost now, it made it so that it was impossible for two Magic players to complete a trade, because neither one of them would stand for them losing that trade by like 25 cents. And as a result, nobody traded anything anymore, and people stopped having trade binders. So that's my story of how, like, the time before smartphones versus the time alpha or after smartphones. With that being said, as a judge, the smartphone is great because, you can look stuff up. Like, so imagine like there's a player who has like a foreign card. Okay. Now you just need to know the name of that card and you can look it up and you can know what it says. But back then, like before smartphones, someone had to like physically, like you had to like just describe what the card did, or you had to like find somebody who there was like comprehensive rules too. There was judges who would like print out the entire text of the comprehensive rules in paper, because again, like if you wanted to look up something in the comprehensive rules, that was the only way to do it. So yeah, smartphones was coming out was like a big change. Let's see here. See, at one time, all the commons and uncommons in alpha beta, yeah. Big impact now. You have 43 years old. You have to agree or agree to disagree. I still bring a trade binder on principle. Yeah. I wish that like people would, but like literally like everybody else in my store stopped doing it. So I'm like, okay, I guess there's no reason for me to do it either. Still have a trade binder for Commander Night, but yeah. So and that's the thing, like, for like just like with your friends maybe, if everybody's on board with it. But yeah, like Um, I still have I still have binders, and I remember I had like a binder that I would just like bring to F&M, and I had like a backpack. That's like one of the big reasons why I have a drawstring bag that I bring to F&M now instead of a backpack, is because like I don't have to have like a whole binder that I fit in there. So that's kind of weird. Yeah, all the cities west of the Rockies are relatively isolated. Yeah, basically, and it's not just west of the Rockies, by the way. If you live in the U.S., like literally, like I would say, like west of the Mississippi would probably be like a good like starting line. And of course, like that's like colored by my own perceptions of like living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is like literally like the best city, like almost in the world, as far as like if your goal is to like drive 3 to 4 hours, you can get to like the most cities that have had big Magic tournaments starting from Fort Wayne in that radius. So like for me, 4 hours is like a long drive, because there's just so many places that are like a 3 hour drive away from Fort Wayne. With that being said, yeah, the West Coast has it really rough, because there's several like big cities over there, but like the distance in between cities over there is just so terrible. I have a friend who's originally from Utah, and he was telling me about like stories where like he and his friends would like pile in the cars like, oh, there's a GP, it's only 8 hours away, let's all get in the car and drive to this GP, guys. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would like just like cry if I had to drive 8 hours to go to a Magic tournament, which I've done before. There's like a handful of Magic tournaments that I've drove like 8 hours to get to, and it was not fun. And I don't think it's gonna happen in the future unless there's like some kind of really really compelling reason to. But like when I went to Minneapolis, for example, I flew. Like it's not it's I do not like driving, and I'm not a big time going to far away tournaments person anyway. So for me, I don't have to do it very much, thank goodness. But like for other people who just like don't have a choice, then yeah, I'm sorry for it. I want to say thanks for making my friends and I better Magic players just from your vids. Aw, thank you so much. And wanna close the stream out here on like some positive notes. I literally never thought that anywhere close to this number of people would be subscribing, and I'm just like so excited every time I look at the numbers and see like how big the channel is. Thank you so much to everybody who's like supported the channel in any way, including coming out here and asking questions and subscribing. And I really do mean it. Like this channel would not be happening without other people who find value in it. Because if it was literally just me making videos and not other people helping by spreading the word and like suggesting ideas for videos and commenting and making it feel like I was doing this for somebody instead of just for myself, there's no way that I would have lasted this long. Not a chance. So thank you so much to everybody who has supported the channel in any way, and I'm so excited to see what happens in the future. And thank you to everybody who is here now, and I hope that all of you have a great rest of your day.